Washington, D.C. scores a major touchdown. Israel approves a bold and controversial new military plan for Gaza. And we'll tell you which states make it easier or harder to stash away some savings. And to all of you who love our trivia question each day, how about this one? Where was the first covered shopping mall created? The answer's at the end of the show. It's Tuesday, May 6th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Ayla Brown. Thanks for finding the Flyover Podcast. Super energized to be with you for another week, so let's take off with the three biggest headlines of the day. Let's start with a major international headline. Israel's security cabinet has just approved a sweeping military plan to seize and hold territory in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu says the operation is aimed at dismantling Hamas and recovering hostages, but also hints at a long-term presence in the region. He described moving Gaza's population south for its protection and made clear that this time troops won't be entering and coming out, suggesting occupation could be on the table. The plan includes heavier airstrikes, cutting off Hamas from aid access, and expanding buffer zones. Humanitarian groups are condemning it, warning it violates international law. Implementation is expected after President Trump visits the region in mid-May. Back here in the U.S., the Trump administration just unveiled a new immigration policy. It offers $1,000 and free transportation to illegal immigrants who voluntarily return to their country of origin. The idea is to cut deportation costs and ease pressure on immigration enforcement. One Honduran migrant has already used the program, which is run through a government app called CBP Home. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says it's the safest and most cost-effective option out there, but critics argue it's essentially paying people for breaking immigration laws. Still, the program doesn't block migrants from applying to legally return in the future. And finally, if you're wondering where your dollar stretches the furthest, a new analysis ranks the easiest and hardest states to save money. Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, and Oklahoma are at the top, thanks to low costs of living and friendly tax policies. Meanwhile, states like Hawaii, California, and Connecticut landed at the bottom due to steep living expenses and slower job growth. Southern states overall offer better savings potential, though challenges like lower incomes and higher personal debt still exist. Curious where your state ranks? You can check out the full list on today's email edition of The Flyover. Subscribe for free at jointheflyover.com. In political news, President Trump has ordered the reopening and expansion of Alcatraz. Yes, that Alcatraz, the former island prison off of San Francisco Bay, which closed back in 1963, could soon be back in business as a federal facility to house violent offenders and possibly even illegal immigrants. Details are still unfolding, but it's being pitched as part of Trump's border crackdown on crime and immigration. Meanwhile, in a separate announcement, President Trump is now calling for a 100% tariff on all foreign-made films. He argues that overseas tax incentives are giving international filmmakers an unfair advantage and threatening the U.S. film industry. No word yet on how Hollywood is responding, but this could certainly shake things up for studios. And in financial news, the federal government officially restarted collections on defaulted student loans as of Monday. That ends a pandemic-era pause that began back in March of 2020. Millions of borrowers could now be facing calls from collection agencies, so if you are in default, it's probably a good time to check your status and explore your options. And in Georgia, a big decision from Governor Brian Kemp. He announced Monday that he will not be running against Senator John Ossoff in 2026. That could throw a wrench in Republican plans since Kemp was seen as one of their strongest chances to flip that seat. Before we get into financial, sports, and science news, thank you to our sponsor, David. Let's be honest, most protein bars feel more like candy bars in disguise. But what if there was one that actually, got the assignment? Meet David. It's a protein bar that's changing the game with 28 grams of protein, only 150 calories, and wait for it, 0 grams of sugar. That's right. While most bars load up on sugar and filler, David gives you what you're actually looking for: protein. Plain and simple. It's a smart grab for that afternoon stretch between lunch and dinner when your energy dips, but you don't want to wreck your goals. And the flavors, oh my gosh, they've got them. Chocolate chip cookie dough, blueberry pie, cinnamon roll, each wrapped in sleek gold packaging you'll start seeing everywhere. And if you buy 4 cartons, you get the 5th one free. No hype, just stats. Find it all at davidprotein.com or click on the link in the description below. Still to come on the flyover, a former fire captain is brewing up support for first responders. Scotty Scheffler turns in a near-perfect golf performance, and a humanoid robot in China has people asking, was that a glitch or the beginning of Skynet? It's all coming up. In finance, first up, big news in footwear. Skechers stock jumped 24% after announcing it's being acquired by private equity firm 3G Capital in a $9.4 billion deal. That's one of the biggest retail buyouts we've seen this year and could shake up the athletic shoe space in a big way. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent laid out the administration's economic vision for global investors. The pitch? A roadmap centered on tariffs, tax cuts, and deregulation, all part of what he's calling the, quote, America First vision. Rivian also made headlines revealing a $120 million investment to build a massive 1.2 million square foot supplier park near its plant in Normal, Illinois. The goal is to streamline EV production and set the company up for long-term growth. And finally, a former Los Angeles County fire captain is turning caffeine into a cause. He just launched Fireman's Brew Coffee, a company pledging to donate at least 10% of all sales to the Fire Family Foundation, which supports firefighters and their families. Coffee with a mission? We're here for it. And here's a quick rundown of what moved on Wall Street yesterday. It was a bit of a down day on Wall Street to kick off the week. The Nasdaq dropped nearly 0.75%, while the S&P 500 and Dow each slipped as well, just under 0.7% and 0.25%. Bitcoin edged slightly lower, holding around $94,000. But gold went in the other direction, jumping more than 3% as investors looked for a safe haven. So a mixed bag, markets down overall, but some standout movers in the mix, including Skechers. In sports news, big weekend for golf fans. Scotty Scheffler absolutely dominated at the CG Cup Byron Nelson, winning by a whopping 8 strokes. That ties the tournament's all-time record for lowest combined score. Safe to say, Scheffler is playing some of the best golf of his career right now. In football news, how about this? President Trump announced that Washington, D.C. will host the 2027 NFL Draft. That'll be the first time the 3-day event is held in the nation's capital, and it's expected to draw massive crowds to the city. Turning to global sports, CNBC just released its rankings of the world's most valuable soccer clubs, and Real Madrid tops the list at an estimated $6.7 billion. Manchester United and Barcelona came in second and third, continuing the European dominance at the top of the value chart. And in Formula One, Oscar Piastri took the checkered flag at the Miami Grand Prix on Sunday, his 4th win in 6 races this season. His McLaren teammate Lando Norris wasn't far behind, finishing second. It's shaping up to be a dominant year for McLaren on the track. Now for a few science and culture stories that had us doing a bit of a double take. In China, a humanoid robot raised eyebrows and heart rates after it suddenly flailed and lunged at handlers while being suspended from a crane. The moment, captured on video, instantly drew comparisons to the movie The Terminator, but officials say it was just a malfunction. Sure, for now. Meanwhile, a fun and slightly gross beauty fact, you know the rich red pigment in traditional lipstick? It's known as carmine. It actually comes from crushed insects. But there's a modern twist. A biotech startup has created a vegan version that replicates the color without the bugs, so your lipstick can now be cruelty-free and still pack a punch. And for anyone with celiac disease worried about cross-contamination in, need I say, romantic moments? Good news! New research shows that kissing someone who's recently eaten gluten poses minimal risk. Just maybe skip the spaghetti makeout scene. You know what I'm talking about. Now it's time for the Rotator, so let's buckle up for Travel Tuesday, where we check in on what's happening around the world of planes, places, and pillow mints. Whether you're planning a getaway or maybe just daydreaming from your desk, I'm doing that right now. Here's what travelers are buzzing about today. First up, a move that's already sparking some turbulence. Several international airlines are reportedly considering weight-based ticket pricing. Yes, you heard that right. Passengers would be charged based on their body weight. The idea has popped up before and always stirs controversy, with critics calling it discriminatory and supporters claiming it could improve fuel efficiency and fairness. No official changes yet, but the debate is gaining altitude again. Meanwhile, American Airlines is stepping up the luxury game with its brand new flagship suite seats, debuting this summer on its Boeing 787-9s. Think privacy doors, wireless charging, and even a Chase lounge built right into your seat. These upgrades are aimed at high-end international travelers, and yes, that fancy seat, of course, will recline. And if you're wondering where to book your next dream trip, TripAdvisor just crowned the Secrets Acamal Riviera Maya in Mexico as the best hotel in the world. The all-inclusive beachfront resort beat out 8 million other listings worldwide, with top spots also going to properties in Vietnam, India, Turkey, and Aruba. Safe to say your travel bucket list might need an update. Coming up, we've got a sculpture flying out of New Zealand, a poll asking if you've ever cracked open The Lord of the Rings, and all of your passionate shopping experts out there, do you actually know where the first covered shopping mall was created? Let's find out. It's all coming up. Let's jump into some more of the unexpected headlines making waves today. First up, a wild claim from a former housing official under President George H.W. Bush. In a conversation with Tucker Carlson, he alleged that the U.S. secretly built a $21 trillion underground city, yes, trillion with a T, for elites to survive apocalyptic events. He says the project spans multiple states and was designed for total continuity of government, though no official sources have confirmed any of it. Over at Barstool Sports, founder Dave Portnoy is making headlines of his own. After two patrons held up an anti-Semitic sign at one of Barstool's bars, Portnoy responded by offering to send them on a tour of Auschwitz, hoping the experience would help educate and discourage that kind of behavior moving forward. He called it a teachable moment, one that sparked a lot of online discussion. And finally, it's the end of an era in New Zealand. Wellington Airport is retiring its iconic Lord of the Rings sculpture. That's Gandalf riding a giant eagle after years of welcoming travelers with a bit of Middle-earth flair. The airport says it's part of a broader rebranding effort, but for fans of the films, it's a very bittersweet goodbye. It's time for the polls. We turn the mic over to you, so let's see how you voted on this question. Do you find it morally acceptable to bet on who the next pope will be? 33% said people do that. 32% said no. 22% said yes. And 12% said only if it's not for profit. So basically, 1/3 of you were today years old when you learned that pope betting is a thing, and now you're probably thinking about it. Well, how about today's lighthearted poll question? Have you ever read the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Yes, my precious. No, too many elves. Only the movies. Or read what? Those are the 4 different answers you can choose from. I personally have never read one Lord of the Rings books, let alone the whole trilogy. It is totally not my thing. If I have time to read, I'm doing kind of like the DC political crime, David Baldacci or something similar to that. But maybe you have. I'll read the answers to that question in tomorrow's episode. Cast your vote right now. It takes 2 seconds at jointheflyover.com. All righty, to all of you shopping aficionados, here's the trivia question for today. Where was the first covered shopping mall created? All right, here's the answer. Trajan's Market, built in ancient Rome between 100 and 110 AD, is believed to be the first covered shopping mall in history. The market had 6 levels that held up to 150 different shops and apartments. You can visit the site, including exhibitions featuring models and videos at Rome's Museo dei Fori Imperiali. So now you know. That'll do it for today's Flyover. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. If you enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. And don't keep it to yourself. Why would you do that? Send it to a friend or two who'd appreciate a smarter take on the news without the noise. I'll be back tomorrow as we dig into some fresh economic numbers, give you some wisdom for Wisdom Wednesday, and so much more. Thanks for flying with us.